Okay, Brett, if you can hear me, I can see that you're on. Oh, there you go. You're off. No, you're on mute still. If you can unmute yourself. Here he is. Great, got ya.
Hi, David.
Excellent, thank you. The floor is yours, mate.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Dave. Welcome, everybody. I'm looking at the chat, not the chat box. I'm looking at the participants box, and I'm seeing over 85 on this call. So, firstly, I want to.
Sorry, Brett, I've just muted you again. My apologies. Just unmute.
Dave, can you hear me? Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, mate. That was my fault.
Okay. Look, sorry, guys. Dave's got control of the joystick here, so I don't have control, which I'm not overly comfortable with, but that's okay. Look, welcome, everybody. A fantastic response to tonight. I want to say thank you, firstly. Thank you for a few reasons. Firstly, for joining us tonight, but secondly, thank you for investing in cricket. I assume that the majority of people on this call are involved in coaching with their local clubs or tied up with administration with their local clubs. Your investment in junior cricket does not go unnoticed. Junior cricket in general relies on volunteers. So for that, I want to say thank you for investing. Tonight is, I hope, an informative night for you. The focus of tonight will revolve around coach education and the opportunities around coach education on the Central Coast. I'll give the audience an understanding of the direction that we're going and why we're going in that direction. And we're happy to take some questions from the floor, either via the chat. The chat box is probably the best option. If you've used Microsoft Teams, we'd suggest that you just use the chat box, which if you wave your mouse, you will see a little thought bubble up the top. And you can just add a question in chat, and we'll try and answer that as quickly as we can. So, Dave, let's get underway. Before we get started, Dave Blackerby, you have your hand up. Is that on purpose or?
No, that's just fat fingers. Carry on.
Okay. Welcome, Dave. Okay. Look, tonight, as I mentioned, is around coach education. So what I wanted to, this first infographic actually explains a bit of the pathway around cricket. We've got this big infographic here with a big community cricket bubble on the left. In the middle, a number of our community cricket players move into representative cricket, and then a small number of those move into high performance cricket. But that community cricket bubble that you see is, it's 85, 90% of cricket that's played. And tonight is going to focus on that particular bubble. I'm the coach and talent specialist, and cricket, the representative cricket area and the high performance cricket area is a focus of my role, but coach education is also a very important element of what I do, and particularly this community cricket space. So, Dave, if we can move to the next slide, please. I want to share with you this quote. This quote came out of the Cricket Australia webinar that ran a few weeks ago. And I think it's quite a prudent quote. It actually says, a coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. So I want to let that sit with you for a little second. A coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. So the coach has a really important role, and how they present themselves and how they deliver, particularly in our sport, how they deliver their cricket actually matters a lot. And tonight we'll talk about that in more detail. Next slide, please, Dave. Okay, so everyone on the call, this is a video that we're going to play. Now, what we do need you to do, what we have done, last night we had an issue with this, But in the chat box, if you go into the chat box, you will see a link to this video. It's called Don't Retire Kid. And you can actually find that. I'm just looking in the chat box now myself. I can see it there. We want you to click on that link. It plays for about 1:30. We'll give you 2 minutes to absorb the messages in this video. And then we'll bring you back and we'll talk about particularly the video, and then we'll move on and talk about how it impacts on coach education. So if you can't find that link, just put your hand up for us.
I've just posted it again, guys, as the most recent message. A couple of hands that say they can't get access to the video.
We might share that video with them after the presentation.
Yes. Yeah, we'll probably do that.
I can see Grant Shepherd there. I wonder if that's the Grant Shepherd that I know.
Yeah, it sure is, Brett.
How are you, Grant?
Good, thanks, Brett. How are
What's
you?
that? Oh, I'm very well. I'm that's probably, let me guess, 88. That's 30 years.
Yeah, I reckon it would be. Dad's going well too.
I was afraid to ask.
I told him yesterday that you were running this, so he said to say hello if I get a chance. So hello.
Excellent. Thanks, Grant.
No worries. Bye.
Okay, we're up to 7:16. So I think that would have given you enough time to watch that video. Can I just have someone other than Dave Winiata just acknowledge that you can hear me?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll continue.
Yep, can hear you.
Thank you very much. So Dave, if you can go to the next slide for me, please. So I just want to revisit the video. A very powerful message. Anyone that's coached junior kids in any sport have probably come across those players that have left the game and not really understanding maybe why they haven't come back the following year. Yes, that is an American video. Yes, that talks about other sports, but those themes are consistent. They're consistent in Australia. They're consistent not only with cricket, but with a lot of other sports. So a very important message, very powerful message, and I want to just let you sit on that for a little while. So the back end of that video, essentially the message was that player wasn't having fun. And fun is a very interesting term. And this particular slide talks about what is fun. Now, this is evidence-based. This is evidence-based. Cricket Australia surveyed a cohort of junior cricketers, and they basically asked them what is fun. And these are the most popular responses. So being in a team, trying your best, working hard, competing rather than winning, which is interesting. Playing together as a team, supporting teammates. So there's a very strong team theme coming out of this. Sportsmanship, the coach treats players with respect, the coach is a positive role model, clear, consistent communication from the coach. So I'm going to focus on, obviously these are coming from young junior players, but there are a couple of these points that sit squarely with coaches. So, Dave, I'll just hit you, yep, if you don't mind. So these are the ones that stand out to me: competing rather than winning. Coaches can get tied up in winning. Now, that could be perceived pressure from parents. It could be perceived pressure from the kids. It could be their own perception that is the big ticket item. That's the big benchmark. That's the KPI. But in terms of kids would rather lose a game by 10 runs than win one by 100. In a particular game where teams are getting losing heavily, if a team wins by 100 runs, to be fair, the only thing that wins is the scoreboard. Generally, a couple of kids might do really well. Certainly, the losing team don't enjoy it, and there'll be some kids on the winning team that don't get a lot out of it either. So, competing rather than winning stands out to me. The coach treats players with respect, and that comes from connecting with your players, getting to know them. One thing that you will understand as you coach is that our kids play for different reasons. They're certainly all different. They all have different abilities. But if you actually take the time to get to know your players, you'll understand that they actually are playing for different reasons. Some may be aspirational and want to play in the Big Bash or play for Australia. Some kids are being forced to play for whatever reason, or they play because their mum or dad thought it was a good idea, or they want to play with their mates, but they all play for different reasons. And as coaches, we need to understand that and we need to respect that. The coach is a positive role model. I reckon that those of you that have played any sport, doesn't matter what sport, if you reflect and think of the best coach that you had, essentially the reason that you've probably chosen that is that they were a very positive role model for you. They took time out. They treated you with respect. They were probably a very good communicator. And conversely, if you think of the worst coaches that you've had, they might be the exact opposite. So very positive role model. They carry themselves well. They do what they say, and they're respectful. And the last thing, clear, consistent communication from the coach. And that's always tricky because when you are communicating with kids, the message can get mixed. But if you're consistent with your message and you're consistent with your messaging to your parents as well, and your opposing coach, your life can be better. And that's what kids have noticed when they've been surveyed. David? So we know coaches are central to the quality experience and player retention. So I'm going to speak to this slide. There are two angles to this slide that I want to focus on. Cricket New South Wales do a very good job in recruiting players. They have lots of good junior development programs, school visits, junior blast products that allow kids to get involved in cricket. Retaining kids is the hard part. And so retention is very important. It's something that most sports struggle with because kids want to sample things. But if we can give our kids a quality experience, and that comes from things like a quality environment, the quality of the coaching, certainly administration within a club or within that particular team is important. The connections that you have, the connections you have with the players, the connection you have with the parents, they all add to what could prove to be a quality experience for those players. Obviously, the team coach is very important in that. And if you have the benefit of a positive, cooperative, quality administrator, team manager, you can actually provide a really quality experience. The coach education course that I'm going to speak to shortly, we talk about providing a quality experience for the player through coach education, upskilling our coaches, but retention for coaches is really important as well. If we have coaches that struggle and don't have a quality of experience, we have high coach turnover. And anyone that's run a cricket club will know how challenging that can be for the cricket club. So our job in terms of coach education is to provide coaches with the tools to cope, to give their kids a quality experience, and essentially to make it enjoyable for the coach as well, because we want the coaches and the players to stay in our game for as long as we can. So David, if you take me to the next slide, please. Anyone that's been able to tap into our webinars that we've run through winter, we've run a lot of coach education webinars. We have focused on what we call the 4 C's. They're in the middle there: confidence, connection, character, and competence. So they have been central to the themes of our coach education webinars. Confidence is about giving our kids some confidence to actually try and be challenged. The connection that you have between player and coach, coach and coach, coach and parent, they're important, and they will make your life easier. So it's about getting to know who your people are, who your kids are, why they're there, and that connection piece will make your coaching more enjoyable and will actually give you a better chance of developing your players. We want to develop character in our kids. We want them to be resilient. I know that's a very it's a very funky word at the moment, to be resilient, but if we can create good character, when cricket challenges them, and it's a hard game, cricket, when the challenges of cricket, they face those challenges, then hopefully their character will stand up, whether they have failure, whether they can come back from that, whether they are challenged at training to get better. That all comes down to character. And that leads to competence. As a coach, we want to develop our players. We want to improve competence. If we can improve competence, that improves confidence. The connection gets stronger, character improves, competence gets better, and you can see that spiral actually will be spiraling up. And conversely, if confidence gets dented and we can't drag them up, then connection dies, character, we see some potentially some negative character traits, competence drops, and it spirals downwards. So the 4 C's are very important. We cover off on those in our coach education course. I'm going to talk very briefly about those 4 themes around that slide. Have fun, play the game. We, again, focused in our webinars through winter with our coach education webinars on setting up coaching environments that are game-like. It does really frustrate us when we drive past cricket grounds and we see training and we see kids bowling in nets, and that's really all they're doing. There's no purpose to training. It's not really game-like. Are the kids getting the best out of the time that they're at training? We would love to see our training sessions to be game-like, whether that's out on a space on the ground, whether you create a game-like scenario in a net session. That's very much possible, and we talk about that in our coach education session. And we want to set up activities that challenge our kids. We want our kids to get better. To get better, we need to challenge them and see how they respond. Make it competitive, make it inclusive. Value and reward the effort over performance. So it's not necessarily about the outcome, it's about rewarding the effort that goes into the outcome. That's really important. As I mentioned, your kids are all different. Their skill levels are different. I can guarantee that if you give praise to one of your players that is not as skillful, their eyes will light up and you will have them engaged. You'll have a better connection, and they will look to try and improve their competence. Solving. This is an old Don quote, and again, a very strong part of our coaching philosophy at Cricket New South Wales. We tell the player what to do, not how to do it. We actually set up an environment where we want an outcome achieved, and we let the player try and explore to achieve that outcome. The days are gone where we are explicitly telling our kids how to play a cover drive. Those days as a coach they're old school. There is a place for taking them down that path, but explicitly talking about foot pointing in that direction and giving the figure 9. Those days are gone. So Our coach education program explores how we can do that really well. Over at the right-hand side, opportunities for all. It's about inclusiveness, give all our kids an opportunity, embrace difference and individuality. Bottom left, player development. That should be the goal of the coach. It is about trying to get every player in your group to improve. If you can do that, you've had a great season. And obviously, you're going to have different levels within your team. But if you could actually set yourself some own personal targets to get maybe your weakest player better, there's a strong chance that the rest of the crew are getting better as well. So make it about the player. It's not about the coach. It's not about the coach's win-loss record at the end of the season. It's about the experience that the players have. Get to know your players. Ask them how they want to go about their cricket. Help every player develop their skills and understanding of the game. And retention. If we do those other three things really well, we are hopeful that retention will be high. Success as a junior club cricket coach is about how many kids you get back the next year. That's success. It's not the wins and losses. That's helpful, but it's not just about the wins and losses. Next slide, David. I'm now going to just step into the process to register for coach accreditation on the Central Coast. We do have a slide later on that highlights when we are running our courses and where they're at and on all the details around those courses. But this little infographic, I'm going to step through each step with you. This has been sent out to all, as well as a bit of an email blurb on how to register and how easy it is to get involved. I've been doing this job for a long time. 20 years ago when I was running level 1 courses that they were back in the day, those level 1 courses were 2 days, involved a workbook. You had to fill it out. You had to detect and correct errors, answer lots of questions, get that back into the presenter. It went away to be marked. The scores came back. You either passed or you failed. And if you failed, then it was up to the candidate to try and get better. So a very long process, and that doesn't work now. Our candidates don't have that time. They can't afford that commitment. And Cricket Australia have done a really good job in providing a learning platform that allows our coaches to do a lot of the pre-course work at home in their own time. And then the face-to-face component, which is highly practical, is now 2 hours. You can do a 4-hour course, but we are piloting a 2-hour course across the Greater Hunter. And I have 11 courses plugged in for the broader Greater Hunter region. And we have 4 earmarked for Central Coast, which I'll talk about shortly. So this little infographic talks about 5 steps. So David, if you can go to the next slide for me. Step 1. Oh, just go back for me. Thanks, David. So step 1, we want you to download the Cricket Australia Coach app. Cricket Australia have done an exceptional job in developing an app that allows the coach, it's a free app, no cost, it allows the coach to access over 200 videos on how to do a particular activity. The app also allows the coach to filter those 200 videos into particular skill sets. So there might be some bowling videos for stage 1. There'll be bowling videos applicable to stage 3. There'll be wicket keeping videos for stage 1, 2 or 3, or you can filter it for stage 2 only. Batting videos, fielding videos, throwing videos. So it's it's highly intuitive. You can actually set up a training session on your phone in 5 minutes, which will allow you to set up a warm-up activity, a skill development drill, and finish with a model game that addresses whatever you wanted to do at training that particular day, whatever your focus was. It might be running between the wickets. And it will allow you, it shows you what equipment you need. It'll show you some videos on how to do it. And it's a highly intuitive app. So I am encouraging everyone on the call that can, if you have your phones with you, duck into the App Store or into Google Play and download that app while I'm presenting. So this is how the app looks. Dave, just next slide. I think there's a couple of animations around this. No, sorry, go back. Sorry. So the app looks like this. You will see on that little infographic there where you've got the two phones. The coaching part of that is bottom left, but it's a one-stop shop. You can actually, it allows for live scoring as well. It links up to the Game Formats app as well that Cricket Australia have got. So I encourage you to download that ASAP, have a play. This presentation will actually talk to you about part of the coach education course is actually located on the app, and I'll talk about that shortly. So next slide, please, David. Okay, the next step is to complete 7 modules online. What you need to do is click on the infographic that's been sent to all clubs. Those little, where you see the click here, that it will take you to the Cricket Australia coaches page. And from there, you register, and we might just, yep, thanks, Dave. Just hit the next, that is the URL at the top, community.cricket.com.au. We will forward this, we will forward this presentation to you. So you'll actually get access to this, so you don't need to take notes unless you wish to. So that's the URL. On that URL, it gives you access to our learning management system. We call it the LMS, but I'll call it a learning portal. And on that portal, online courses, coach workshops, support resources, and frequently asked questions. Next slide, Dave. Okay, if you could hit the next slide for me. So this is what it looks like. When you go to that portal, you can see up in the top left-hand side, if you could hover over that with your mouse, Dave. Yep, thank you. Up at the URL. That's the URL that we plug into. If you register, once you register, it'll ask you, well, the registration process will take about 4 or 5 minutes. There's a lot of questions around yourself, what age group you might be coaching, your address, what state you're in. That is important, about what state you're in, so that you access New South Wales coach courses. But once you've gone through that process, we go to the next slide. You log in. This is a dummy account that I've set up. I've called it Dummy Coach. You can then go to courses and workshops. You actually get, once you do register, just go back for me, Dave. Once you do register, you actually get a member ID number, which you can see up the top there. That is not a MyCricket number. It's actually a specific Coach Australia ID number, and you carry that with you. And if you go to click on courses and workshops, it'll take you to this page, and you hit the launch learning button. If you just hit, yep, beautiful, hit the launch learning button, that will take a minute or so to load. It is slow, but there's a lot of information behind it, so be patient, and it will take you to this landing page. Now, this is your portal. If you go up to, just scroll across Hello Dummy for me, please, Dave. Just above introduction, just above introduction there.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see that it's personalised. That's me, Dummy Coach. I've put in the search bar introduction. I'm looking for the introduction to coaching course, which is the 7 modules. Up should come a little icon there, introduction to cricket. That might even come up the first time you go to that page. If you click on that, so next page for me, please. It'll take you to this page. So this is the introduction to coaching page. Just hit, yep, beautiful. 7 online modules. It does say that it will take you approximately 15 minutes per module. That is an official lie. It will take you a little bit longer than that. So please be patient. What this does allow you to do, it does allow you to save and go back. So once you finish a module, you can save it and come back at a time that suits you. What the modules involve are, there are different topics, which we'll go to in a second. Actually, we might go to that now. So you can see the 7 modules here, creating a quality experience. Just hit the next forward button for me. You can see that 0% of this course has been done. But creating a quality experience is the first module. You can do them in any order. But what each module involves is a series of videos. They'll ask you some multiple choice questions. You'll answer those questions. If you get them all right, you progress. If you get some of those questions wrong, it will take you back to the module or the video, have another look at it, come back, answer the question. If you get them wrong again, it'll actually give you the answers. Hopefully then it allows you to understand where you maybe have gone wrong, and it allows you to progress to the next module. So there are 7 of those. That's the first part of your junior coach course. The next part is 10 very quick modules on that CA Coach app. So if you can go to the next slide for me, David. Remember, we went to that little coaching icon. Okay, next slide for me. And this is what comes up when you click on it. So you can see over there on the top left, on that Coach Toolkit photo, junior coach course, you click on that for me. So just hit forward for me, Dave. So into there, hit forward for me. These are the 10 modules. They're very quick, very easy. Essentially what they are 4 5-minute videos. All you need to do after watching each particular video is you answer, yes, I totally understood that, the information in that video, or I understood most of it, I understood some of it, or I had no understanding at all. That's all you do. We encourage you to answer it honestly, because that's important. Because once you do the 10 modules, you can see where those black circles indicate those 10 gold stars. That shows that I've done those 10 modules. That's come off my phone. Then if you could just hit the forward button for me, Dave. Yep. No, back for me. Too quick. Back. That self-assessment button is very important. What it does is generate this reflection statement on the far right-hand side. Now, if you probably can't see it, but there are 10 questions in there. I've answered those 10 questions. You can see my responses there on the far right-hand side. Some are in black, some are in green. There's one in red because I wanted to see what would happen if I didn't understand. And that's what it shows. Dave, can you point to the top right of that? No, go back. Top right of that particular sheet where the download button is. Can you see? Yep. So in that little space there, what's really important is once you've completed that reflection statement, you download that, email it to yourself, because you need to bring that to the face-to-face course. We need to know that you've completed that before you turn up to the face-to-face course. The reason for that is that it's a mandatory element of the course. Last year, we had a 2-part course, and we allowed candidates to come to our course to do Part B without them doing Part A, but them stating that they would do Part A, and they never did Part A. And it was very difficult to actually close those courses off. It held up accreditation for other candidates. So we're actually being quite bullish here, and I've made a personal decision that if you haven't done the Introduction to Coaching course and this reflection sheet, unfortunately you won't be allowed to do the practical, not until you've done those courses, those parts of the course. So Dave, can you just progress to the next slide for me? Okay, and just hit the forward button. Now, Neil McDonald, I don't know if Neil is on this course, but this is one of Neil's favourite slides. As I had mentioned previously, on this app, you are able to plan your own training sessions. This is where you go. You can go to My Session or My Session Plans. The activities are there that you can look at. You can actually move them into a session plan. It makes it really easy. You can video off this app. You can video a player to give them some instant feedback. You can put notes on that video. You can draw angles. You can draw circles. You can then email that to the player so that they can look at it at home. So it's a very intuitive, very creative app. So I just wanted to highlight that before we move forward. Dave? Next. Yep. Okay, to register, we need to actually go back into our learning module, our LMS, that portal, and actually find a course and register for that course. So Dave, I'll get you to move forward for me. So this is what it looks like. You can see the JCC modules there. Once you click on that, it will open up. It will actually open up the courses that are available to you. Before I do that, I'm going to go live and actually try and do it online and share my screen to show you how it works. But Dave, can you just hit the forward button again for me? I want to highlight, and again, yep, I want to highlight these two courses. One thing that I've found after running our community coach courses or our junior coach courses, the candidates really enjoy it. I don't know if 100% enjoy it, but I get lots of positive feedback. One of the questions I get asked a lot is, Brett, what's next? I really enjoyed that. What can I do to actually do the next stage? And this is where you go to actually do the next stage. We ran this webinar last night for Hunter Valley, and the cricket manager there spoke to me today and said he's already had 8 people contact him to ask him how they do the next lot of modules. So this is where your learning sits. The masterclass icon, that is where you register for masterclasses. So we ran wicket-keeping masterclasses last year in Central Coast, Newcastle, Lake Macquarie and Hunter Valley. This year we are going to be running some fielding masterclasses, and it's an opportunity for coaches to come along, no charge, and we will run through some key elements of a particular skill. It's about an hour, hour 15, but this is where you register for those masterclasses. So Dave, can you just go forward to the next slide, please? And what I'd like to do, with the permission of the audience, I want to quickly share my screen and dive online and see if I can take you to the online portal so I can show you where to register for courses on the Central Coast. So, Dave, I might get you, I don't know if I request control or if I just share my screen. I'm going to just share my screen first and see what happens, if that's okay.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, I think this is not a bad start. Can I have someone on the call, other than Dave, just tell me whether they can see the Cricket New South Wales landing page?
Yeah, got it.
Got it, Brett.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to go to that URL that we spoke about. So this is it here, community.cricket.com.au/coach. I'm going to log in. Hopefully you can all see this. So I haven't gone into the dummy coach account. I've actually gone into my actual account. And I'm going to try and get to courses and workshops. Here's that launch learning button we spoke about. It does take a little bit of time, so please be patient. If anyone's got any questions while this is doing its business, happy for you to put something in the chat, and I'll try and answer it when I come back from this part of the presentation.
While you are talking, so Dean did raise a good point that he was having trouble launching, and
Yes.
then Wendy did jump in and say she had been using Firefox, but then used on Chrome. So just FYI around that, for everyone who's trying to log in, that sometimes it could be your actual program in which you're using to surf with, could be the issue, but also clearing your cache can also be a problem as well sometimes. So if you do those two kind of things, you should be able to get in.
It is technology, and sometimes it just doesn't work the way we hope it does at the time. So if you are having issues, Talk to Dave in the first instance, and if Dave needs to chat to me, he will. So this is taking a little bit longer than I was hoping. It may be because I'm sharing a screen to 100 odd people. So we'll just see what happens shortly. Any other questions in the chat, Dave, at this stage?
No, not at the moment, Brett. Just that one.
Come on.
Yes, Peter. Yes, we will. This whole slide, this whole presentation will be emailed out to everyone.
This is not normal. I think it might be because I'm sharing and we've got 100 odd on the call. Come on, do your stuff.
But we might just keep moving on.
Yeah, okay. So look, what I will do is I'll stop presenting.
Okay.
So Dave, if you want to go back and share your screen.
To answer that question, Peter, yes, it will. Cricket New South Wales, Triple CA now have a YouTube channel. So this recording will be placed onto that YouTube channel for you to view.
Okay, so stage 5 is basically turn up to the session. Once you register, turn up. What will happen is I've closed each of our courses, which I'll show you in a second. I've closed 2 or 3 days prior. I'll make contact with everyone that has registered, and I'll give you some more detail about what to bring. Make sure that you bring your reflection sheet. I might actually even ask you to email your reflection sheet. We actually use the reflection sheet on the night. So, for example, if the reflection, say we have 25 in the course, and I have 15 people in the room who have honestly answered the questions and said, "Oh, look, I had some issues around fielding," for example, that might actually dictate a focus on that particular night around some fielding. And then hopefully those coaches can go away feeling a bit more comfortable. So where and when? So these are the courses that we've set down. So we're at Harrymore Oval. So Grant, you'll be pleased to know I'll be revisiting Toukley, which I'm looking forward to. So that is next Monday evening. So we need to get moving around that. Next one is at Erina Oval on the Tuesday. Wednesday is the 4th at Fagan's. And then on the 13th of the 11th, that is actually a female-only participant course. We are trying to encourage I'm just looking at the chat there around those dates for Fagan and Fagan and Erina. We'll confirm that for you. So thanks for that, PF. But the Friday night course on the 13th is actually a female-only course. We're trying to engage more of our females around coach education. We have a lot of them playing cricket now, and the key is to actually move them into the coach education space. And that person is right. It is actually 6 o'clock, not 6:30. So that'll be 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We want to make sure that we get enough daylight. 6 o'clock start. So hopefully everyone's got that message. So next slide, please, Dave. So this slide just gives you a bit of a snapshot. These are some of the courses that we've run across the Greater Hunter over the last 12 months. It's very interactive. We break our groups up into we break our audience up into small groups. We give them some activity cards. They set up a little coaching environment with an outcome, and they present that to the other candidates. We provide feedback. What else do we do? We critique the activity. We challenge the group to make the activity more challenging, or conversely regress the activity to make it easier? If our kids are struggling with it, how do we make that activity a little bit easier? How do we incorporate more players? How do we make it more game-like? How do we make it competitive? So that's basically how we will run that 2-hour session. Next slide, please, Dave. So I just want to reiterate, this is where Dave will step in, but I just want to reiterate that quote around coaches. You know, they'll have more impact on junior players in a season than most adults will have in a lifetime. So it's a very important role. We focus on philosophy. We focus on creating environments that allow our kids to get better. We want our coaches to enjoy their coaching experience. We want our coaches to get better themselves. We want to retain our coaches, and we want to retain our kids. So, look, essentially, that is the end of my part of the presentation. I'd like to thank you all for joining in. I look forward to seeing a lot of you at those courses in next week. I do want to reiterate, Dave, I'm not sure if you've actually spoken to this, but Central Coast have mandated compulsory coach accreditation for junior club teams. So we want to support that. We want to do what we can to get to that point. Currently in the Greater Hunter, we did a little survey last year, a little pilot project. 30% of our coaches across Greater Hunter, and it's pretty similar across Central Coast versus Newcastle versus Hunter Valley. Only 30% of our coaches coaching junior cricket teams are accredited, and that's something that we need to fix. And with your help, with your engagement, I'm pretty confident we can do that. So we want to move that forward. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to catching you soon. And if there are any questions after the call, you can go through David to reach me.
Beautiful. Excellent. Thanks, Brett. I really appreciate that time, and hopefully everyone understands the process of the coaches courses. And yes, there is a bit of a confusion with a couple of dates, but we'll come out with that with an email tomorrow to confirm it for everyone. All right, so this is where I get to take over, and we'll just fly through some of the information that needs to be at the ready for this season ahead. Now, a lot of people already know what's happening with match junior cricket formats, stage 1, 2, and 3, and hopefully they understand the move that we are doing towards these formats. And there's just some quick quotes around why we're doing it as well. Coach packs are available online, and there's a link here within this document which you can click to and actually explain, especially for those who are new to under 11s cricket, sixes cricket, for stage 1, just understanding how it works, because obviously you're potentially new to the game. Please download these packs. It gives you a really good understanding of what you need to do and what you look forward to when you actually start on the 7th. And as you can see there, it shows the pitch setups, the boundary sizes, and then also how to manage the game to make it nice and quick. Scoring a match. So we'll be pushing for live scoring again, or e-scoring again this season. And that's via your tablet, but also you'll have books which are ready to go and will be handed out on Sunday to club secretaries. That's when keys will also be handed out as well. Equipment. So there is a fair bit of equipment that potentially you may need to have as a coach as well. So definitely a tape measure and stumps for stage 1 and stage 2. Again, if you're new to those teams, new to those formats, please talk to your club and obtain that equipment when you are the home team. The home team needs that stuff. The away team shouldn't need to supply that when they go to a game. So Brett did mention along the way, the first, I think it was second slide itself, a coach will impact more young people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. And that does speak again consistently with what Brett was talking through in the first part of this presentation. And I hope that does sink in well with a lot of you on the call around how important it is for the future and benefit of our young ones coming through cricket and just even through life in general. All right, so we're going to get into the information that we need for the season itself ahead. If you have any questions or concerns, please jump in. Jack's going to be answering questions. He'll say if we need to stop and talk about it, but we'll see how we go from there. So COVID is a pretty relevant thing at the present time for us. So each club has been sent the return to play guidelines from Cricket New South Wales, and it's been endorsed by the CCCA as well. Hopefully, if you haven't seen them, please reach out to your club to get them into your hands. I'm going to resend them again with this pack as well, just in case. Some important points that came from it: there is no physical contact to occur whilst training or playing between players, no sharing of cricket equipment and food/drinks. All players are to take their own food and drinks to games and training. Each team coach is to be a COVID marshal for their team. They must adhere to their club's COVID safe plan and also to the Cricket New South Wales guidelines. So it's pretty important that you do adhere to that, and that is an extremely important piece of this COVID times as a coach. You become the COVID marshal for your team, which covers both spectators and the players. All players must register their attendance at cricket training. So if you're going to training at the moment and you don't have a QR code set up, or you don't have a manual register set up, you need to reach out to your club ASAP and get that organised straight away. Each club's about to receive their own large QR call flute sign, which they can put on their nets, so that it makes it a little bit easier for everyone to sign in as they go to training. MyCricket will be used as the attendance register for all players at games itself. All coaches must make sure their team is named in MyCricket to meet the COVID requirement. So that means then, yeah, if you're not sure about having to get your team named into MyCricket, again, reach out to your club. They need to help you to get that right. And hand sanitizer should and is expected to be at all games throughout the season. Some of the following points are relevant to all junior cricket. So the first one is the bowler's hat/sunglasses or whatever else they're holding, jumper, whatever they're holding in their hands. The bowler can place those the hat or sunglasses on the ground at the beginning of their run-up. So if they're a fast bowler, wherever they start their run-up from, if they're a spin bowler, it's got to sit behind the actual umpire itself. Okay. Where that hat is placed becomes a dead zone. That dead zone means that if the ball was to strike the hat or whatever is in that place, there are no penalty runs applied, and it becomes a dead ball. The ball is to be rebowled. All right. So if someone hits a ball down the ground, the ball gets thrown back and hits that equipment. The ball actually, you have to stop, rebowl the ball again, purely because of it hitting that obstacle. This is not normal process, not normal practice, but because we are in a COVID time, we have to have some kind of around the reasoning of that product of doing this and doing this process. After a wicket is taken, the ball needs to be placed next to the stumps. The umpire is not to pick up that ball at all. Okay, they should not be picking up the ball. They can set up back the stumps and so on, but they should not be picking up the ball. The ball itself, at no time, saliva or sweat is to be used on the ball. If the umpires do see that saliva is being used or sweat's been used on the balls, there are three-stepped process in which it needs to apply. So first you get a warning, then you'll get a second warning. The captain will be summoned over and advised that a penalty will occur if it happens again. On the third strike, if it happens again, 5 penalty runs will be applied to the batting side. Throughout this process, the ball will never be changed, but an alcohol wipe should be used to wipe the ball itself. Sounds very strict, but we need to adhere to this because this is a requirement from Cricket Australia all the way through, and allowing us, part of Cricket Australia's process, to allow us to be back on the pitch playing cricket. This was ticked off by government end to say that these are the requirements we're going to do while playing cricket. And if we don't adhere to that, we're not adhering to our return to play policies, which then could put cricket in jeopardy itself. Scoring matches, which is going to be pretty relevant for all coaches and parents and so on. So it's recommended that we try to use this one individual tablet and have one person complete that and use the tablet itself throughout the whole process. If it's not able to be done, let's use an alcoholic wipe to wipe down the tablet so that then the next person can take over. The same kind of applies to a manual book itself. Where possible, we can wipe the book down. Probably not too a bit hard to do that in times, but definitely wiping down the pen or pencil, or having separate and your own pens or pencils along the way as well. Big thing is common sense needs to be applied by players, coaches, and parents. Referred again to those guidelines that you that your club have, or your club COVID officer if you have any questions. Now, Jack, did we have some questions around COVID? Because we've got to hand on.
Yes, we do have a few questions which I've been answering in the chat as we've been going along. We had one on, do the players' parents have to be registered at games via the QR code? Yes. We had one in relation to barbecues. Again, it's highly recommended that unless the food is packaged, that it is not to be served in a canteen format. And it's similar to how seniors will not have afternoon tea this year. We've just had another one from Matt. Who is responsible for the provision of hand sanitizer at training games? Talk to your clubs about this one, because the captain or the coach of any team is deemed the deemed COVID safe marshal for the game.
Yep. Number on family members? No, there's no limit on that. That was taken away about 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago. So, yeah, you can have multiple family members at a game. The maximum amount is 500 people at a venue. And wonderful thing about cricket, that's never going to happen. So, especially on the Central Coast. So, so we'll be fine with that.
And we've just had another question from Peter Ness. Can the COVID marshal role be assigned to a formal team manager? Surely the key thing here is the compliance to the requirement rather than, sorry, my computer is gone crazy. Compliance to the requirement rather than who does it. So,
yes,
Peter,
common sense.
So, yep.
Common sense,
yep.
That's fine.
Yeah, and
ultimately every team needs to have someone who's going to be managing that space. And if you're lucky enough to have a manager in a team, fantastic. And it's probably more likely that you should be having them as the COVID marshal. Good question, Pete.
Right. Happy to keep going, Dave. No more for the time.
Good. Whoops, I've gone too far. All right, competition structures. Under 11 and 6s girls is non-comp. Under 12s to under 16s and youth girls will have 16 one-day games. Youth boys will have 7 two-day games and also 2 T20 matches. The final structure. So due to COVID as well, and lost weekends, we've had to go back to the same structure as a couple of years ago, where finals, semi-finals and finals are on the one weekend. So semi-finals, and that's then ultimately the reason for this, everyone, is that if we were to spread the finals over 2 weekends, we're losing a weekend of playing for the rest of the competition for the sake of games. So we want to make sure that everyone's playing as much cricket as we can, and then semi-finals and finals are jammed into a weekend itself. So the 20th of March for 12s to 16s will be semi-finals, 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3. Grand final will be the next day. Winners of those 2 games go through. Youth girls, because we've got a little bit more time, they can go over 2 Fridays. So for 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3 on Friday the 12th, and then the Friday the 19th is the grand final. Youth boys, they have a 2-day game. So they play on Thursday, Friday of 11th and 12th, and then 18th and 19th, the winners of 1st and 2nd. But they still play 16 rounds of cricket. Both youth teams, youth boys and girls, get 16 rounds of cricket as per what the other age groups have. Stage 1, some basic rules around stage 1. So again, this is in the coach's pack, but there are 7 on the field. We can have max of 9 and minimum 5. Pitch length is 16 metres, and the club should be providing you a tape measure and the stumps to apply to that. 17 balls each. Bowlers, all bowlers to bowl, a maximum of 3 overs by any bowler. It's a 20-over match, 6 balls per over, no wides or no balls to be re-bowled. All overs will be bowled from one end only. You don't switch ends. There are unlimited dismissals and no LBWs. Boundaries are maximum 40 metres. If you've got it at 25 metres, that's fantastic as well, because you want to see kids scoring runs, not feeling like they have to hit a massive ball to get to the boundary. So please don't be too harsh on the size of your boundaries for this age group. And then fielding positions, we want to make sure, wicket keepers, we want to have replacing wicket keepers. So 10 overs, at the 10 over mark, you change over wicket keepers. Now, COVID comes into play here. If your club is able, they should be able to supply 2 sets of gloves, wicketkeeper gloves per team. So that means then 1 set for the first 10, the second set for the second 10. If that's not possible, you can wipe the gloves down and then change them over to the new person. The only thing you can't do is change over those helmets because obviously they'll be full of sweat. To minimize, again, the whole wiping down of keeper gloves, if you get each of those keepers to be wearing a pair of cotton gloves, like kind of cotton inners, that minimizes that issue around the COVID piece as well. Fielding positions, we want to rotate around in a clockwise position. So everyone's rotating through different positions around the field. So they're going to feel for all of positions across the cricket pitch. And also no one goes within 15 metres of the batter. Big thing about this stage is all about participation. We want everyone to participate. They bat, they bowl, they field, all in different locations. It's a feel for the game. Stage 2, which is our under 12 A's and B's, and our under 14 B's and C's. This is a 9 players per field, max 11, minimum 7. Those outside of the 9, so 10, 11, you would then have non-batters and non-bowlers. The pitch length is 18 metres. Batters have 35 balls until retirement. Bowlers, all 9 players to bowl. So you're only, so if let's say you have 10 or 11 players, you still only have 9 bowlers. 9 bowlers. Then you would have 2 non-bowlers, and those 9 bowlers can become the batters when you do bat. Overs are 30. There's 6 balls per over. Maximum of 8 for an over, which is 2 wides and no balls, can be re-bowled. Outside of that, if you have more than 2, they don't get re-bowled. They just can play on. So remember, 8 balls per over max. All overs to be bowled from one end because, again, there's a time-saving process. All kinds of dismissals count, including LBW. Now, I say that in tongue-in-cheek in a way because I want coaches to understand that yes, there is LBW, but let's make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons around not devastating our kids around the LBW rule. Okay, we want to make sure that they still want to come back and play cricket, and so if there's a 50-50 chance that that might have missed, let's just give it not out, please. Let's take care of our kids. But if you're going to go hard and fast, the rule is that yes, LBW does count. Maximum boundary 45 metres, measured from the middle of the pitch. Minimum's 35. Wicket keepers are to change over at 15 overs. You don't have to change over wicket keepers, but that's when you can replace keepers at the 15 over mark. Fielding positions, again, focus to try if you can to have a rotational process where everyone's still trying to get a chance across all different locations of the field. Big thing you got to remember is that's time that you're going to run out of if you continue to move players around the field and have them coming from all different locations to get to bowl. Note that there are penalty runs that apply if you do not meet certain time within the game itself. Stage 3 is under 14 A's and under 16s. So that is 11 on the field, 20 metre pitch, 45 balls, minimum 6 bowlers to be used, which are max of 5 overs per bowler. 30 overs in total. All wides and no balls are re-bowled. All kinds of dismissals count, including LBW. Boundaries are 50 metres max from the middle of the pitch. And again, no fielders within 10 metres of the bat, except regulation offside, keeper, slips, and gully. And again, timing does apply and penalty runs do apply if you don't meet those time guidelines. Youth boys and girls. Youth boys have the same rules as men's cricket, 2-day 40-over matches or T20 matches played throughout the season. Bowling restrictions as per rulebook. I'm not going to go through all the bowling restrictions because there's two formats. You start on a Friday afternoon at 4:30 and expect to be finished by at least no later than 7:30. All games are played on turf. Note that there are backup games allocated. If you can't get onto turf, you move on to synthetic. For the girls, for the youth girls, same rules as senior women's competition. 8-a-side, last woman standing applies. T20 format, pitch length is 18 metres, similar to stage 2. Minimum 5 bowlers to be used, max 4 overs per bowler. Home and away structure this season, so there are home games and away games. And each club must make sure that their youth girls teams are supplied with the required equipment, because this season I won't be offering that equipment and setting up grounds. So clubs need to jump in and help out with that, please. All right, helmet policy. So the helmet policy, all juniors are to wear the British standard helmets when batting and wicket keeping. Players not to continue it should the above not be adhered to. Pretty straightforward. Helmets must be worn by wicket keepers and batters for all junior cricket. Code of conduct. So the code of conduct link is in this presentation. So if you need to review that, you're quite welcome to that. Please note that the code of conduct, code of conduct also includes off-field issues like social media. So if you're going to be going social media stuff, then that becomes a concern as well. So make sure you understand that's part of the process. Fitness of the ground. I'm just going to quickly shoot through all this. So both teams need to go to the ground unless your club secretary have agreed to call off the game. Once at the ground, it is solely up to the coaches to decide whether conditions of ground, weather or light or exceptional circumstances mean it would be dangerous or unreasonable for play to take place. Conditions shall not be regarded as either dangerous or unreasonable merely because they are not ideal. The fact that the grass and the ball are wet does not warrant the ground conditions being regarded as unreasonable or dangerous. For matches played on synthetic pitches, if conditions are poor at one end, you can move it to be able to play cricket and play all overs from one end that is not affected by the conditions itself. In the event of there is disagreement on the fitness of the ground due to wet weather, the match is not to proceed until there is mutual agreement from both coaches. In relation to the decision regarding the fitness of light, pitch and ground, should there be a disagreement, the state of play existing at the time of the question arising shall continue and remain in place until there is a mutual agreement. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Disputes and protests. So very quickly, you can dispute or protest if there's a concern within the game itself. That must be completed within 48 hours of the actual game or complaint that occurred. All that must go through your club secretary, which will then send it on to the CCCA board. Results. So in matches in which both teams have had the opportunity to bat and agree a minimum overs to complete, scoring the high, number of overs, the team scoring the number of runs.
Dave, I hate to interrupt.
Yeah, mate.
We've just got a few questions in the chat. Stuart's asked about the 18-metre rule for girls' youth league, I'm pretty sure it was.
Yep.
He was under the impression that it was a full-length pitch?
Stuart. Yep, always been 18 metres, mate. It was last season. If you need to discuss and why that is, we'll take it offline because it's not probably a discussion to have over this meeting.
And a question also from Matt in relation to the Stage 2 format under NSC GCA in Sydney. Slips are permitted closer than the minimum distance.
That's correct.
10. Is correct?
That's correct.
And
yep.
Also from Anthony Everson, the last over in Stage 2 must be 6 legal deliveries. Is this correct?
The which one? Sorry.
So the last over in Stage 2 must be 6 legal deliveries.
Thank you, Anthony. Yes, that's correct. You are correct. So just going back to Stage 2 with relevant balls, obviously the last over needs to be 6 legitimate balls need to be bowled. So they'll keep bowling until all 6 are legitimate.
That's all, David. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Hang on, we've got one from Trevor as well.
I've answered that one.
Yeah, one. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, sweet. Cool. All right. Okay, if a team is batting second has not had the opportunity to complete and agree the number of overs and has neither been all out nor has passed its opposition score, the following shall apply. The result shall be decided on the average run rate throughout both innings. If due to the suspension of play, the number of overs in the innings of the team batting second to be revised, their target score, which we'll explain a little further on, shall be calculated by multiplying the reduced number of overs by the average runs per over scored by the teams batting first. If the target score involved a fraction of a run, the final score cannot be equal and the result cannot be a tie. So I'm going to I'll let you review that on your own accord and read back over it because it can be very confusing. If you have any questions, please raise it either with your club or you can come straight to myself or Jack and we can explain how that works. The same here with understanding of reduced targets, and that could be quite relevant coming into this season, especially with our forecast of wet weather. There are abilities to reduce targets and reduce game overs. Again, I won't go through it tonight, but please have a read through it. And you'll be able to, understand it. We'll flick over that one. All right, so ground setup. The team designated as the home ground is responsible for supply of stumps, bales, boundary markers. These items must be in place before the designated starting time. That's extremely important for everyone. So as a coach, I would expect you to be there if you're home ground, if you're a home team, expect you to be there, 7:15-ish, 7:30 at the latest, because you want to make sure that ground is set up and ready to go. And then you can then organise your team ready for the game ahead. Grounds shouldn't be set up at 5 to 8 because there's a guarantee that you are not going to be starting at 8 o'clock. And again, time penalties do come into play. If you're not going to complete, if you don't have your stuff set up in time, then that penalty may come into play. Match day safety checks. All teams are required to conduct a match day's health and safety check prior to the commencement of each competition, match and training session. The checklist is to be completed online via the Marsh JLT app. Now, we do have some issues around the Marsh JLT app at the moment. iPhone users are not able to use it. So just watch this space. Jack's about to come out to everyone in regards to how to work around this from a manual process due to iPhones not working. But it's very important that this is completed prior to starting the game itself. Declaration of teams and exchange of teams list. All teams must be put into MyCricket prior to the match commencing. COVID requirement. Team list is to be completed and exchanged prior to the toss. The exchange team list may not be altered once the game has commenced without written consent of the opposition coach/manager. Non-batters and non-bowlers do not need to be nominated on the team. You can change that on the run. Right. Submission of results. For all scheduled matches, the results and player performances must be submitted for each day's play by the home team using MyCricket no later than 6 p.m. on Sunday. You play on Saturday morning, you've got till 6 p.m. on Sunday to enter everything into MyCricket. As mentioned earlier, e-scoring is to be used where possible. Home team will have the option to e-score first. If they choose not to, the away team can then score via their tablet or phone. If e-scoring, the other team must complete the manual book. We still must have a manual book completed, and we can also e-score at the same time. Some e-scoring. So we've had some e-scoring workshops already. We've got another one coming up very shortly, in the next couple of weeks. We'll get that out to everyone probably in week 2 of our season starting off. We'll run a program. And if you do e-score a game, it also helps towards Club of the Year points, allowing your club to receive up to $2,000. So it's pretty important that you do go through that process and use the e-score option. Just mentioned again, it's just a repeat of what we had for number of players for each stage. The overs of play. So e.g. stage 1, you can go down to minimum 5 overs to constitute a match. For stage 2, its minimum is 15 overs. For stage 3, its minimum is 15. For youth boys, 40 overs and 2-day format. It hasn't actually explained it there, but same for T20, it is 5, and for 40 overs, I'll amend this slide to show it. For 40 over matches, I believe 15 as well. For T20 format for youth girls is minimum 5 overs as well. Hours of play, stage 1 should be playing 8 a.m. till 10:15. Stage 2 is 8 a.m. to 11:40. You must finish at 11:40, otherwise the penalties will apply, and I'll show you that on the next slide. Stage 3 has 8 a.m. to 12 noon. You must finish by 12 noon, and it's extremely important that you do because senior cricket kicks off half an hour later. So you must be finished by 12, and the breakdown of the penalties apply on the next slide. Youth boys are 4:30 till 7:30, and youth girls are 5 till 7:30. So stage 2, these are the timings. So first innings must commence at 8 and conclude at 9:45. We keep on saying 8. If you start your game at 7:55 or 7:50, you're quite welcome to as well. Don't think that you have to start at 8. You can start earlier if you want to, as long as both teams are ready to play. Second innings to commence by no later than 9:55 to conclude by 11:40. Okay, if you do conclude the first innings earlier, you still only have a 10-minute changeover, and then you go straight into your second innings. For stage 3, your first innings, again, 8, must conclude by 9:55 and must start up at 10:05 to conclude by midday itself. For matches where overs are reduced, the innings start-finish dates are to be varied. However, the finish time is to remain the same. Stage 1, 11:40, stage 2, 12 o'clock. For innings which are still in the progress at the finishing time, scheduled finishing time, the innings will cease at the conclusion of the over in progress. Under no circumstances the innings to continue past the scheduled finishing time. If you don't finish that within that time, penalty runs are 5. 5 penalty runs will apply to the batting team. Okay. All right, hours of play. So as mentioned, drinks breaks. We do have drinks breaks throughout each stage. Maximum 5 minutes, should be on and off. So off and on, sorry. So each player should already have their own drink bottle because they've turned up under COVID requirements. And they are allowed to go off and leave the field, but get off, have the drink, get back on again, and we start playing again. And then just go through when drinks are allowed to be had. Change of innings, as mentioned, for all stages is 10 minutes. Ball types, I hope everyone has, I think all clubs have already ordered their balls, but that explains what balls are used throughout the season. So under 11 sixes are the soft ball, under 12 boys are the 142 commander ball, which is the plastic one. Under 14 Bs and Cs are a 2-piece Colt ball, 142. Under 14 As and 16 boys are a 2-piece 156. Youth boys use a 4-piece pink, and if they go to concrete, it'll a 2-piece. They'll use the 2-piece pink. And then youth girls are a 2-piece 142 pink. Point scores. So for youth boys, they are the point scores for T20 and also for 2-day games. For under 16s through to under 12s through to 16s and youth girls, that is the points table. And as mentioned, under 11s and girls 6s is non-comp, so there are no points that apply. Finals qualifications. So from 12 boys up, under 12s up, players must play a minimum of 5 games in that grade or lower during the season. Must play 5, so it's not percentages, just 5 games. And then restrictions on coaching, junior coaching. So once you get to, this is for finals only. This is not throughout the week, throughout normal round games. This is for finals only. No on-field coaching will be permitted during final series, only before the commencement of play, during drinks breaks, at lunch, or between innings. That's it, mate. That's it for me. So, Jack, do we have any other questions that we need to potentially ask or answer?
Just one last one. Both my boys have asked, we thought the balls were standardised across the stages. Why are different ball types used for the same ages across regions?
So, Matt, you'd have to probably explain what you're meaning there for what age groups you're applying to. So
under 11s and under 12s, both boys have played under 10 and under 11 last year, and they played with the 142 gram leather, which they'd become accustomed to.
Yep.
So surprised to
that
find
one.
Using plastic balls now.
Yeah, each association across New South Wales and Australia have their own rules around how they apply. So Cricket Australia format rules advise that stage 1 uses the soft ball, and stage 2 then go to your 2-piece ball. And so Sydney, I know your kids came from Sydney last year, amended with those rules, and even to the point of, as you mentioned, have under 10s playing. Playing as a different comp. So yeah, different rules for different associations, and that's why we got the softer ball for under 11s, which is stage 1, and then we go to the harder ball in stage 2.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
There was another question from Mr. Goldie, or Goldie. Hey Dave, is there a reason why there are minimal points available for T20 in the youth boys?
Actually,
Cap's answered that one.
Oh, good.
Yep. And Lee, with regards to under 11s, what is the COVID rule for coaches helping kids with batting, bowling, e.g., distances, etc.?
Yeah, good question, Lee. It's a great question. We want them to help as much as they can, obviously still keeping their distance as well. That's a challenging one. You still want to keep your 1.5 from any kind of child and so on. You don't want to be on top of them and so on, but we still want you to helping. So it's you just got to have some common sense there where possible. But yeah, still absolutely coaching, and that's especially for stage 1 coaches. They should be helping both teams. If you see a child struggling to even bowl or struggling to hit a ball properly, giving them some guidance around that should go for both teams, because it's all about that participation based process. Captaincy. Yeah, you can share captaincy, absolutely. You don't have to have it as one captain. Absolutely, we can encourage that as well. We want all kids to be able to have that experience, Michael. So, well and truly. Draws are out, Scott. So everyone hopefully has looked up on the app. Draws are all out for age groups. So they're ready to rock and roll, and you should know where your first game is in a week's time. Yeah, so Natalie, that's correct. I think, Jack, that they need to QR in. So
yes, I did.
Not actually at games. My Cricket obtains that, because they're going to obtain the family in which that player is coming from, and that's then the contact trace process. If a case was to apply, we would then supply the contact details of that child and / every child that's playing in that game. And which then they'll contact that household to advise them of the situation of what that is. The funny thing about cricket, obviously, is if we may have spectators that randomly come down and watch cricket, that's okay, because that's just them coming to a public place and they're being able to watch something. So we don't have to register them, hence why My Cricket is that process. And you'll find that's similar to what soccer has done this season, where they've used the iComp man to register all their attendees for every soccer game, and then on lining up to the fact that that person playing, whoever's associated with that person is the contact, and which will tell that group of people that are at the game that they need to be aware of the situation. So that's it for me. I'll just wait a couple more minutes if anyone has any more questions. You can either throw your hand up, raise it up, or whack in a comment in the comments box. if you're typing away, as I mentioned, this video is being recorded, so it'll actually be posted and into a YouTube channel that Triple CA now have, and we will place that. I will send that out to everyone. I now have contacts lists from each club for every coach across every grade. So this presentation, the slides, the COVID stuff will all be sent out to every coach as well. So yeah, if anyone else any other questions? I'll also welcome any feedback as well in regards to this online process. So obviously last year we ran it out of Diggers, and this year's our first time of running it as an online option. So you're quite welcome to reply to my email and give me any kind of feedback you may have in regards to an online option over going out to a location like Diggers at the entrance. Saying thanks, which is great. There's no other questions. I'll let everyone enjoy their night. As I mentioned, we're here. Jack Wilson and myself are here to help out where we can, and hopefully give you any kind of answers. Back on, obviously they've got the coaches courses coming up, and it's a great chance for us to increase our coaches' numbers that will become accredited, which then increases the opportunity for our kids to become better at cricket and enjoy it. And as Brett did mention, a coach's success is based upon how many kids come back the next season, not how many trophies they win. It's how many kids actually turn up to play the next season. Then you know that you've done the right thing in regards to the way you've engaged your kids, and got the best out of them as well. Perfect. All right, if there's nothing else, beautiful. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. Everyone's saying thank you. I love it. Good stuff. All right, guys. Enjoy your night. Thank you again for spending an hour and a half with us. And again, appreciate your time and effort. You're extremely important to the growth of cricket on the Central Coast. And if you have any questions, Jack and I are here to help wherever we can. All the best for the season. I'm sure we'll see you out there on the pitch, and hopefully weather will be on our side going through this season, and we can get as much cricket as we can in for the season ahead. Have a great night, guys, and all the best. Thank you.